The night was heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of the wind moving through the broken towers of the ruined city. The human, Captain Daniel Reed, walked carefully through the rubble, his boots pressing against shards of glass and twisted metal. He had been sent to search for survivors after the last battle, but he did not expect to find anyone alive here. The city was dead, burned, and empty. Yet Daniel felt that someone or something was watching him. His flashlight moved over. Broken walls covered in strange alien marks. The war had destroyed everything, but the ruins still carried the memory of those who once lived here. Daniel adjusted the strap of his rifle and kept walking, his breath slow, his heart heavy. Every shadow looked like danger, every sound made his body tense. He had been in many battles, but this silence felt worse than gunfire. It was the silence of a graveyard. Then out of nowhere, a voice cut through the darkness. A small, trembling voice, weak but clear. "Please, save my sister, she won't stop shaking." Daniel froze, his heart jumping in his chest. The words were not human, but he could understand them through the translator in his helmet. It was the voice of a child, an alien child. He turned slowly, aiming his light toward the sound. Behind a fallen wall, he saw movement, small and quick. A pair of glowing eyes reflected the beam. Wide with fear, Daniel lowered his weapon a little, not sure what he was facing. The figure stepped forward, shivering and clutching something close. It was a child. Thin, pale-skinned, with faint lines of light running across her arms like veins. Her voice broke again. "Please, human. My sister. Help her." Daniel's instincts told him this could be a trap. The war had taught him that trust was dangerous. But something in the child's voice was real. A cry that no soldier could fake. He slowly moved closer, careful with every step. The child backed away, eyes darting in fear. But she did not run. She wanted him to follow. "Where is she?" Daniel asked, his voice firm but calm. The translator repeated his words in her language, a soft hum echoing. The alien girl pointed to a gap in the broken wall, her hand shaking. Daniel crouched low, sliding through the rubble. Behind the wall, there was a hidden passage leading underground. The air smelled of dust, smoke, and something else. Sickness. The girl led him deeper, her small footsteps echoing against the stone. Daniel's light revealed a small chamber, cold and broken. There, on the ground, lay another child. Her body shook violently, her eyes half closed, her skin glowing with strange cracks of light. She looked fragile, as if her bones could break. With every tremor, the younger sister knelt beside her, tears rolling down her face. "She won't stop shaking. I don't know why. Please, save her," she whispered. Daniel's chest tightened. This was not just sickness. Something unnatural was happening. He could see the glow spreading through the older sister's veins, pulsing like fire. Every tremor looked worse than the last. She was not just dying, she was being consumed by something. Some kind of weapon, some kind of curse left by the war. The human soldier placed his rifle down and knelt beside the trembling girl. He reached out a hand slowly, not to frighten them. The younger one grabbed his arm, desperate, her small fingers trembling. "Please, human, you can save her, right?" she begged, her voice breaking. Daniel's eyes locked on the shaking child. He was no doctor, no healer, but leaving her here was not an option. For a moment, he thought of walking away, but then he remembered faces from his past, the ones he could not save. He would not let history repeat. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from above. The ground shook as something heavy moved across the ruins. Daniel looked up, his instincts sharp. Enemy patrols, machines, or worse, the alien child. Gasped, fear filling her eyes. "They are coming. They will take us," she whispered. Clutching her sister tighter, Daniel grabbed his rifle, his eyes narrowing. The mission had changed. This was no longer just about searching ruins. It was about survival. It was about saving these children. The girl's shaking grew worse, light spilling from her body like cracks in glass. Daniel felt cold sweat run down his neck. He did not know what was happening to her, but he knew one thing: if he stayed, they might all die. If he left, the girls would surely be taken or destroyed. His choice was made. Daniel lifted the trembling child into his arms, her body burning hot against his armor. The younger sister followed, clutching his side. With the sound of approaching danger above them, Daniel whispered to himself, "All right. If I'm the only one here, then I'll answer." And with that, the human stepped into the darkness, carrying the children, not knowing if he could save them, but refusing to let them die alone. Daniel moved quickly through the broken passage, his steps heavy but careful. The younger alien girl kept close to him, her small hand holding tightly to his armor, as if she feared he might vanish if she let go. In his arms, the older sister trembled without pause, her body twitching as if trapped between life and death. Her glowing veins pulsed brighter with every shake, and the light made the dark tunnels around them feel alive. Daniel's heart raced. He had carried injured soldiers before, but this was different. This was something far beyond any human sickness. The little sister whispered again, her voice breaking with fear. "She has been like this since the bombs fell. She won't stop." "I don't know what to do." Daniel looked at the girl's face and saw her eyes filled with both fear and hope. He wanted to say everything would be fine, but he could not lie, not when he himself had no answers. He only nodded, tightening his grip around the shaking body. "We'll find a way," he muttered under his breath, more to himself than to her. The tunnel ended in a small chamber, part of an old bunker buried under the ruins. Daniel set the trembling sister down on a broken slab of stone, his flashlight flickering across her glowing skin. The younger sister knelt at her side, gently brushing hair from her face, her small hands trembling. The girl's breathing was ragged, her chest rising and falling with painful effort. Every shake seemed worse than the last, as though her body was fighting against something deep inside. Daniel checked his pack, pulling out a small medical kit. He opened it, searching through vials and injectors. But this was human medicine. It was made for human wounds and human blood. Still, he could not just stand by and do nothing. He pressed a scanner against the girl's skin, the small screen flashing red as it tried to read her condition. The machine struggled, the signals chaotic, the results unclear. Finally, words appeared on the display. "Unstable energy detected." Daniel frowned, his gut sinking. This was not illness, it was energy. A force planted inside her, maybe a weapon, maybe a side effect of the alien war machines. Whatever it was tearing her apart from the inside. Her shaking was not weakness. It was a battle raging within her own body. The younger sister looked at him, desperate. "Can you fix her? You're human?" "They said humans can do anything." Her words cut deep, like a knife through his chest. Daniel was strong in battle. He knew how to fight, how to kill, how to survive. But saving a child from something like this, that was beyond his training. Yet when he saw the girl's tears, he knew he could not admit failure. He placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "I'll try." Above them, the sound of heavy metal footsteps echoed faintly. The enemy was moving, searching, sweeping the ruins. Time was running out. Daniel knew if he stayed too long, they would be trapped. But if he moved too quickly, the older sister might not survive. It was a cruel choice, one he hated, but war always forced such choices. The girl's trembling grew violent, her body arching off the stone as light spilled from her veins. Daniel grabbed her hand, shocked at the heat radiating from her skin. It was as if fire lived inside her, desperate to break free. Her mouth opened in a silent cry, her body shaking so hard Daniel feared her bones might snap. The younger sister screamed, "Please do something, she's dying." Daniel acted on instinct, pulling an injector from the kit. It was a stabilizer, meant for human soldiers hit with radiation. He pressed it to her arm and released the dose, hoping, praying it might slow the shaking. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the violent tremors eased just slightly. Her breathing steadied. though the glow inside her still pulsed with dangerous rhythm. It was not a cure, but it was a small mercy. The younger sister wiped her tears, looking at him as if he were a miracle. "You saved her. You really saved her," she whispered. Daniel shook his head, his eyes grim. "No, not yet. This only buys us time," he said quietly. He knew the truth. Her body was still unstable. The energy inside her was growing, not fading. If they did not find the source and stop it, she would not last long. The little girl held her sister's hand tightly, whispering something in her alien tongue. A lullaby, perhaps, her voice soft and broken. Daniel turned his eyes to the ceiling, listening to the distant sound of the enemy. He had no plan, no map, and no allies. Only 2 fragile lives depending on him. His chest tightened as he realized the weight of it. He was just one man, one human in the ruins of a dead city. Yet he was the only one who had answered the cry. He gathered his things, slung his rifle over his back, and lifted the trembling girl again. The younger sister followed, her small steps quick to keep up. Daniel whispered to himself, "We move. We survive, and we find a way to end this shaking." The girl looked at him with wide eyes. "Where will we go?" Daniel did not answer, because he did not know. He only walked into the darkness, carrying both fear and hope on his shoulders. And above them, the sound of machines grew louder. The hunt had begun. Asterisk. The tunnels grew colder as Daniel carried the trembling girl through the darkness. Her body shook against his chest, glowing faintly with each pulse, like a fragile lantern ready to break. The younger sister stayed close, her small hand clutching the edge of his armor, her eyes wide with fear. Every step echoed, and Daniel knew sound was their enemy now. The machines above were hunting, and sooner or later they would find the trail. Daniel paused at a split in the passage, listening. The faint hum of metal gears echoed from behind. Closer than before, the enemy was sweeping the ruins. Their sensors sharp, their orders simple, no survivors. The human soldier tightened his grip on the shaking child and whispered to the younger sister, "Stay quiet, no matter what." The girl nodded, covering her mouth with both hands, her eyes shimmering with tears. He chose the left path, moving swiftly but carefully. The tunnel twisted downward, deeper into the earth. Daniel's flashlight flickered across broken walls filled with strange alien carvings, ancient words and symbols. The little girl glanced at them and whispered, "This was our safe place." Before the bombs fell, her voice cracked with sadness, and Daniel felt a pang in his chest. Safe place, he thought bitterly. Now it was nothing but a grave. The older sister groaned weakly, her shaking body tensing in his arms. Daniel stopped and adjusted her weight, his eyes scanning the tunnel ahead. She was getting worse again. The stabilizer was wearing off too fast, he muttered under his breath. "Come on, hold on. Just a little longer." But her glow brightened, small sparks of light leaking from her skin like cracks in broken glass. Daniel's heart sank. If the machines spotted that glow, they would be caught instantly. A sudden sound cut the silence, the metallic clank of armored feet against stone. The tunnel shook as heavy steps drew closer. The girl's eyes widened in panic. She whispered, "They're here." Daniel pushed them against the wall, lowering the trembling child to the ground. For a moment, he raised his rifle, his breath steady, his eyes sharp. The beam of light from a mechanical drone cut through the darkness ahead, scanning, searching. Its red eye glowed. Sweeping across the tunnel, Daniel aimed and waited, his finger tight on the trigger. The drone moved closer, the sound of its servos loud. Daniel fired. A short burst of bullets cutting through the dark. The machine sparked and fell, its red eye fading to black. But the sound echoed far through the tunnels. More steps followed. Heavier, faster. Daniel cursed under his breath. He had bought seconds, not safety. He grabbed the shaking girl again and pulled the younger one close. "Run," he ordered, his voice low but fierce. They sprinted through the tunnel, their footsteps slamming against the stone. Behind them, the machines roared to life, the ground vibrating with their pursuit. The chase had begun. The tunnel split again. One path narrow and steep, the other wide and open. Daniel chose the narrow one, forcing his way through broken stone. The younger sister squeezed behind him, gasping for air but never letting go. The shaking girl whimpered, the glow of her body lighting the way. Daniel's teeth clenched. He wanted her to be silent, but he could not blame her. She was fighting something inside her no child should ever face. The machines fired into the tunnels, blasts of energy striking the walls. Stone shattered, dust rained down. The younger girl screamed but kept running. Daniel shielded the fragile sister with his own body, pushing forward. One blast tore past his head, burning the wall beside him. He stumbled but did not stop, his grip like iron around the trembling child. Every instinct screamed that if he slowed down even for a second, they would die. Finally, the narrow tunnel opened into a larger chamber. It was an old transit station, broken rails running through the dust. Signs and alien script hung broken from the ceiling. Wires dangling like vines. Daniel rushed across the platform, his boots echoing loudly. He spotted a collapsed section leading upward, a possible exit. But the machines were closing in, their metallic roar shaking the walls. Daniel turned, setting the trembling girl gently behind cover. He aimed his rifle at the tunnel entrance, his eyes hard. The younger sister clung to her sibling, tears streaking her dirty face. "Please don't leave us," she whispered. Daniel gave a sharp smile, grim but determined. "I'm not leaving. I'm buying us time." The first machine burst through the tunnel, its armored frame gleaming in the glow of the shaking child. Daniel opened fire, bullets sparking against its body. It staggered but kept coming, its red eye fixed on the children. Daniel fired again, aiming for the joints, sparks flying. The machine collapsed with a crash, smoke rising, but two more followed. Larger, heavier, their weapons glowed, ready to fire. Daniel dove to cover, his mind racing. He had little ammo left, no backup, and two children who could not run far. His eyes shifted to the trembling sister, the glow inside her now burning brighter. A thought struck him like lightning. The energy inside her, unstable and deadly. If he could somehow control it, maybe it could be turned against the machines. But he hesitated, the risk too great. If she lost control, it would kill them all. The younger sister looked at him, her eyes desperate. "Please, save her, save us." Daniel tightened his jaw, his mind made up. There was no time for fear, no time for doubt. He would find a way, even if it meant using the danger burning inside the girl. He raised his rifle again, ready for the next wave. The chase was not over. It was only beginning. Asterisk. The chamber trembled as the machines forced their way closer. Daniel pressed his back against the wall, his rifle hot from the last rounds he fired. The younger sister held the trembling one tightly, whispering prayers in her alien tongue, her small voice shaking as much as her hands. Daniel glanced at the older sister again, the glow in her veins growing brighter, spreading across her arms and neck like fire under glass. It was terrifying, but it was also clear now. This was not sickness, it was power, and power that did not belong in a child. Daniel's mind worked fast, pieces of the puzzle coming together. The enemy was not just chasing them because they were survivors. They were chasing the girl because of what was inside her. She was carrying something, a weapon or an experiment. Something the enemy had created or forced into her body. The violent shaking was not weakness, it was the unstable energy trying to escape. If it broke free, the girl would die, and perhaps everything around her would be destroyed. The younger sister looked up at Daniel, her eyes wide with desperate hope. "You can save her, right? You have to. Please," she whispered. Daniel wanted to give her an answer, but his throat was dry. He crouched beside the trembling child, studying the glowing cracks across her skin. Her body looked fragile, but the energy within her felt like a storm waiting to burst. He had seen bombs with less fury than what he felt in her small frame. Daniel pulled out the scanner again, placing it gently against her arm. The device beeped wildly, the screen flashing symbols he had never seen before. It struggled to read the data, finally spitting out one word. Implant. Daniel's jaw tightened. So that was it. Something had been planted inside her during the war. A core, a shard, or a device that turned her into a vessel of energy. She was never meant to survive. She was meant to be used and discarded, the thought made. His stomach turned with rage. The younger sister noticed his expression and grabbed his arm. They did this to her, didn't they? The soldiers, the ones who burned our home, she asked, her voice trembling with fury and fear. Daniel looked into her eyes and nodded once. Yes, they did this, he said softly. The girl's face hardened, her tears drying into anger. She pressed her head against her sister's shoulder and whispered, "I won't let them take you again." A sudden explosion rocked the chamber. Dust raining from the ceiling. Daniel swung his rifle up, firing at another drone that crawled through the broken tunnel. The machine sparked and collapsed, but more. Shadows moved behind it. He knew they would not stop. Not until they had the girl back in their hands. Time was running out, and he had to make a choice. He knelt close to the trembling child, speaking low. "Listen, I don't know if you can hear me, but you're stronger than you think." The girl's half-open eyes fluttered, glowing faintly as if trying to respond. Her body shook violently, but Daniel thought he saw a flicker of awareness inside her. Maybe she was fighting the energy. Maybe she was still holding on. He touched her shoulder gently, whispering, "You're not a weapon, you're a child, and I'll find a way to free you." The machines advanced again, their red lights glowing through the dust. Daniel fired. In bursts, retreating with the children toward the collapsed section of the station. His shots slowed the enemy, but could not stop them for long. The younger sister tugged at his armor, pointing at a broken stairway leading upward. "There, a way out," she said quickly. Daniel nodded, lifting the trembling girl again, her body hot and unstable against his chest. They climbed, every step a struggle as the machines grew louder behind them. Reaching the top, Daniel kicked open a rusted hatch, pulling the girls into another tunnel. This one was narrower, with roots breaking through the stone, the air thick and damp. They moved quickly, Daniel's arms burning from the weight, his breath heavy. The younger sister walked beside him, refusing to let go of her sibling's hand. Every few steps, the shaking girl let out a soft cry, her glow flashing brighter in the dark. Daniel's fear grew. She was close to breaking, and he did not yet know how to stop it. Finally, the tunnel opened into a cavern filled with old alien machines, broken and silent. They looked like they had been here for centuries, covered in dust and moss. Daniel set the girl down on a slab of stone, scanning the area quickly for threats. Younger sister looked at the silent machines with wide eyes. "This place, it belonged to our ancestors. They built these before the war," she whispered. Daniel frowned, an idea sparking in his mind. If this was old technology, maybe it could help him understand the implant. Maybe, just maybe, it could help him save her. He connected his scanner to one of the broken consoles. The screen flickering weakly, strange alien symbols appeared, half broken, but enough for the translator to catch. The words formed a message. "Energy core, unstable, requires release." Daniel read it twice, his chest tightening. Release. The word echoed in his mind. The implant was not meant to stay inside her. It was meant to unleash destruction. If he could not stop it, the shaking would only end one way, in an explosion that could kill them all. The younger sister looked at him, fear filling her small face. "What does it say? What's happening to her?" she asked. Daniel clenched his fists, his voice low but firm. "It means we don't have much time," he answered. Her eyes filled with tears again, but she wiped them away, her voice shaking. "Then we'll fight for her, until the end," she said, her courage shining through her fear. Daniel nodded, loading the last of his ammo. The glow from the trembling girl pulsed brighter, lighting the chamber like a beacon, and in the distance, the sound of the enemy machines grew louder once more. The secret was out. The girl was a living weapon, and everyone wanted her. But Daniel knew one thing with certainty. She was not theirs to take. Daniel stood in the cavern, his rifle low, his heart heavy. The glow from the trembling girl lit the stone walls, her body shaking so violently it looked as if she might tear apart at any second. The younger sister stayed close, her small hands gripping both Daniel's arm and her sister's hand, refusing to let go. The sound of machines echoed faintly through the tunnels, growing louder every minute. They were running out of time, and Daniel knew it. The words from the old alien console repeated in his head. Energy core, unstable, requires release. The truth was clear. The implant inside the girl would not stop until it destroyed her, and possibly everything around her. Daniel stared at her fragile body and felt anger burn in his chest. How could anyone do this to a child? To turn her into a weapon and then leave her to suffer? His hands tightened on the rifle. But no weapon could fix this. No bullet could remove what was inside her. The younger sister looked up at him, her eyes red from tears but full of stubborn hope. "You said you would save her," she whispered. Her voice was small, but it carried the weight of trust. Daniel looked into those eyes and felt the burden of choice crush him. He could save himself, leave the sisters here, and escape the machines, or he could stay, fight, and try to do the impossible, remove the curse inside the trembling girl. One path meant survival, the other meant sacrifice. He had been a soldier long enough to know which choice was safer, but his heart refused the safe road. He crouched beside the shaking child, placing his hand gently on her arm. Her skin burned hot, her glow pulsing wildly. Her half-closed eyes flickered as if she could see him through the haze of pain. Daniel whispered, "I gave my word, and I won't break it. Not now, not ever." The younger sister's lips trembled, her tears falling again, but this time she whispered, "Thank you." The rumble of machines grew closer, the ground vibrating beneath them. Daniel knew they would soon pour into the cavern. He scanned the broken alien machines around them, hoping for something, anything that could help. One console flickered faintly, showing an image of a chamber, a place where energy could be contained. Perhaps this was where the implant had been made, or where it could be removed. It was a small chance, a desperate one, but Daniel clung to it. "Where is this place?" he muttered, staring at the alien map. The younger sister leaned forward, her eyes recognizing the symbols. "It's near, under the old tower above the city ruins," she whispered. Daniel nodded, his decision final. They would go there, even if it cost him everything. The machines roared, their red lights flashing through the cracks in the tunnel. Daniel lifted the trembling girl into his arms again, her body spasming with dangerous force. He turned to the younger sister, his voice sharp but steady. "Stay close to me, don't let go, no matter what happens." The little one nodded, her small jaw set with courage beyond her years. Together, they moved toward the far exit of the cavern, the only path left. The enemy poured in from behind, their heavy feet shaking the ground. Daniel fired a burst from his rifle, sparks lighting the cavern as metal clashed against stone. The younger sister screamed, covering her sibling's glowing body with her arms. Daniel stood firm, his shots precise, his stance unbroken, but he knew the truth. He could not fight them all, not for long. Still, he refused to fall back, not yet. Every second he bought was a second the children stayed alive. His mind raced as he fought. He thought of the war, the soldiers he had lost, the innocent lives destroyed. He thought of how many times he had seen children turned into weapons, and how many times he had failed to stop it. Not this time, he swore, not again. He would carry them, protect them, even if it meant his life ended here. That was the choice he made, and he would not regret it. The machines advanced, their weapons glowing brighter. Daniel reloaded, his last magazine sliding into place. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. The younger sister clung to her sibling, whispering again and again, "Hold on, please hold on." The shaking girl's glow pulsed violently, almost blinding in the dark cavern. Daniel glanced at her, fear in his chest. If she lost control now, they would all be destroyed. But if he could reach that chamber under the tower, maybe, just maybe, he could save her. With a final burst of fire, Daniel cleared a path, shouting to the younger sister, "Run now!" She obeyed without hesitation, sprinting beside him as he carried her trembling sibling. The machines roared behind them, their metallic voices echoing, but Daniel did not look back, his eyes locked forward. His heart burning with his choice. The safe path was gone, the easy road abandoned. He had chosen to fight, to protect, to answer a cry for help no one else would have answered. As they disappeared into the tunnels, the younger sister looked up. At him, her voice barely a whisper. "Why are you doing this?" "We're not your people." Daniel tightened his grip on the girl in his arms, his face hard, but his voice soft. "Because no one saved me when I needed it, and I swore I'd never let that happen again." The girl's eyes widened, her tears falling fresh. In that moment, she understood. This was not just war, not just survival. This was humanity, raw and defiant, choosing compassion even in the face of death. And so they ran, deeper into the ruins, chased by steel and fire. Choice was made, and there was no turning back. The tunnels opened into a wide chamber filled with broken pillars and shattered stone. Daniel staggered forward, the trembling girl heavy in his arms, her glow brighter than ever. The younger sister ran beside him, her breath ragged, her eyes darting back to the sound of the machines behind them. The air shook with the thundering steps of the enemy, each one closer than the last. Daniel's muscles burned, but he refused to stop, not while the children were alive. He found a narrow ridge at the far end of the chamber and climbed it quickly. From the top, he could see the faint outline of the ruined tower through a crack in the stone above. That was their destination, the place where the energy inside the girl might finally be stopped. But between them and the tower stood more machines, their red eyes glowing in the dust. They were waiting, surrounding the exits, their weapons ready. Daniel set the trembling girl down for a moment, kneeling beside her. Her body shook harder, arcs of light flashing across her skin. Her small lips moved as though trying to speak, but only broken sounds came out. The younger sister clutched her hand tightly, whispering, "Please hold on, we're almost there." Daniel's jaw tightened, his eyes shifting to the enemy ahead. He was almost out of ammo, his strength failing. But there was no retreat. This was it, the final struggle. The first machine advanced, its steps shaking the ground. Daniel raised his rifle and fired, each shot ringing like thunder in the cavern. The bullets sparked against metal, piercing joints and wires until the machine collapsed. But more came forward, relentless, merciless. Daniel moved fast, firing, ducking, and striking with his knife when they drew too close. Sparks filled the air, mixing with the glow from the trembling girl. The cavern became a storm of fire, light, and steel. The younger sister screamed as one machine aimed at them, its weapon glowing. Daniel threw himself between the children and the blast, the energy striking his armor with violent force. Pain ripped through his body, but he forced himself to stand. He fired back, destroying the machine with a final burst. Smoke filled the air, his lungs burning, his body trembling. Still, he refused to fall. The trembling girl cried out suddenly, her glow erupting into a blinding flash. The machines froze for a moment, their sensors disrupted by the surge. Daniel looked at her in shock. She was fighting. Even in her weakened state, the energy inside her was pushing outward, wild and unstable. But in that chaos, he saw something else, potential. If she could direct it, even for a second, it could turn the tide. He knelt close, placing his hand on her shoulder, his voice steady though the world roared around them. "You're stronger than they think, stronger than what they made you," he whispered. Her glowing eyes flickered, meeting his for a heartbeat. "Fight with me, just this once, and we'll win," he said. The younger sister nodded, tears streaming. "Please, sister, listen to him. We can do this." The trembling girl's body arched, the glow spreading outward like fire through cracks in stone. The machines advanced again, their weapons ready to strike. Daniel stood tall, his rifle raised, ready to shield the children with his life. But then the girl screamed, and the scream became light. A wave of energy burst from her small body, slamming into the machines with unstoppable force. Metal twisted and shattered, red eyes went dark. The ground itself shook as if the planet cried out. Daniel shielded the younger sister as debris rained down. When the light faded, the chamber was filled with the wreckage of broken machines. The trembling girl collapsed back into Daniel's arms, weak, her glow dimming. She had given everything she had, and it was enough to break their enemy for now. Daniel's chest heaved, his eyes scanning the destruction. For the first time since this nightmare began, there was silence, but it was not over. The girl's breathing was shallow, her body unstable, the energy core inside her still active. Daniel knew this victory was only a pause, not the end. If he did not reach the chamber beneath the tower soon, her strength would fade completely. The younger sister looked at him, her voice shaking. She saved us. But she can't keep fighting like this. Daniel nodded, lifting the girl once more, his body aching but unbroken. She won't have to. I'll carry her the rest of the way, he said firmly. They moved again, climbing through the ruins toward the tower. Daniel's every step was fueled by sheer will, his choice burning in his heart. He had chosen to protect, to fight, to answer the cry of two alien children no one else would have cared for. And now, in the silence after the storm, he knew one truth. The final struggle was not against the machines. It was against time itself, and he would not lose. The ruined tower loomed above, its broken frame cutting against the faint light of the sky. Daniel's arms trembled as he carried the girl, her weak glow guiding their path. The younger sister walked beside him, steady and brave, her small hand never letting go of her siblings. Together, they climbed toward the last hope, each step a promise, each breath a vow. This was the end of the road, the last chance, and Daniel was ready to face it, no matter the cost. The tower stood broken against the sky, its frame jagged like the bones of a dead giant. Daniel pushed forward, the trembling girl heavy in his arms, her glow dim but dangerous. The younger sister walked close, her hand gripping his armor, her small steps quick to keep up. Every part of Daniel's body ached, but his mind was set. This was their last chance, their only hope. They reached the base of the tower, the entrance half buried under stone and metal. Daniel kicked aside debris, forcing a way inside. The air was thick with dust and silence. Broken machines lined the walls, their lights long dead, but in the center, there was something still alive, a chamber glowing faintly with ancient power. Daniel's scanner flickered, recognizing the energy signature. This was it, the place built to contain the very core that now tore the girl apart. He set her down gently on a platform, her body trembling violently. The glow in her veins pulsed faster, cracks of light racing across her skin. The younger sister clutched her hand, whispering through tears, "Please stay, please don't leave me." Daniel's chest tightened. He could see how close she was to breaking. The energy inside her screamed for release, and if it came uncontrolled, the blast would destroy them all. He studied the controls, his fingers flying across ancient buttons and switches. The translator gave broken messages. Containment. Sequence possible. Warning. Unstable. Daniel cursed under his breath. Unstable or not, this was the only chance. He turned to the younger sister, his voice steady but heavy. "This will hurt her, maybe even kill her, but if we do nothing, she'd be gone anyway." The girl shook her head, her eyes full of fire. "No, you'll save her. You have to." Daniel swallowed hard, nodding once. "I'll do everything I can," he promised. The chamber came alive, lights flickering weakly, ancient systems humming. Daniel lifted the trembling girl into the containment field, her glow reacting instantly. The machines around them shook as the energy inside her connected with the old technology. She screamed, her voice filled with pain and fear, her body arching. As if being pulled apart, the younger sister cried out, trying to run to her, but Daniel held her back. "Stay strong for her, she needs you," he whispered firmly. Tears ran down her face, but she nodded, whispering words of comfort in her. Alien tongue, the glow from the trembling girl filled the chamber. Brighter and brighter, the machines strained, alarms blaring. Energy level critical, Daniel worked the controls, forcing the system to stabilize. Every second felt like a lifetime. The girl's screams shaking his heart. He gritted his teeth, refusing to stop, refusing to let her die. Then came the breaking point. The glow erupted, filling the chamber with blinding light. Daniel shielded the younger sister, holding her close as the world roared around them. For a moment, it felt like everything would collapse. And then silence. Daniel opened his eyes slowly, his ears ringing. The chamber was quiet, the lights flickering weakly. He rushed to the platform, his heart pounding. The trembling girl lay still, her glow gone, her breathing shallow but steady. The implant had been neutralized, the core contained. She was alive. The younger sister ran to her, throwing her arms around her with sobs of relief. Daniel stood back, his chest heavy with exhaustion, his body weak but his spirit unbroken. He had done it, against all odds. He had saved them, not because he had the power, not because he had the tools, but because he had chosen not to abandon them. The younger sister looked at him, her face wet with tears, but her eyes shining. "You answered us," she whispered. Her words struck deeper than any wound he had carried. Before, yes, he had answered, to a cry in the dark, to a plea no one else would have heard. That was humanity's answer. Not conquest, not cruelty, but compassion. Daniel lifted his rifle as faint echoes sounded outside the tower. The war was not over. The enemy was still out there. But now he was not just one soldier. He was the protector of two fragile lives, who carried the future in their small hands. He would fight again if he had to, and he would keep them safe. The trembling girl stirred, her eyes opening slowly. She looked weak, but for the first time she was not shaking. She whispered something soft, barely a breath. "Thank you." Daniel knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Rest now, you're safe." The younger sister held her tighter, whispering, "He saved you. I told you he would." Outside, the ruined city lay silent under the broken sky. The machines had fallen for now. But danger would return. Daniel knew their journey was far from over. But as he looked at the sisters, he felt a fire inside him. A human fire that no war, no machine, no cruelty could ever put out. They were alive and they were together. That was enough. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel felt hope. Hope not just for himself, but for the children, for the future, for a galaxy where a single human choice could change everything.